I don't know why I have a journal, but I just
You
do.
you brought your journal to our podcast?
I just thought, am I going to school or am I going to be a teacher?
You're gonna be
And I,
schooled.
I thought, I can take notes from the best.
Wow. You know what I did to prep for our session?
Masturbated.
No, actually, I wasn't in the mood. And I wanted to be. I like had two moments where I was gonna reach, into the little bedside drawer sitch. And I was like, meh. I was like, maybe I want to save all of that for you. If I had a big release this morning, maybe that wouldn't have created the
I ha
container that we needed.
I helped some gentlemen release today, but I haven't released myself. So,
All right. All right. So good. We're in a prime space of holding. I like
let
it.
it drip.
Well, so that's what I did. I lubed myself up for you.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
all
Is
oily.
that why you got the compliment? So I was like, you're so tan and perfect.
Yes, it's the almond oil and the gua sha
Oh,
I did all the
oh
things.
yeah. You did your beauty routine for the Venus ruled Garrett.
Yes. For people that don't know what that means, what does that mean?
I'm a Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. And basically, we just love art and pleasure and beauty, and we're materialistic a little bit, but in a soulful way. And we just, yeah, are led by our heart and love and, the eros of energy.
Definitely, you are. And well, what I always say with Taurus too, it's yeah, you're materialistic, but it's mindful and in a way it's necessary because your physical surroundings, when they embody how you feel, like that just amplifies everything.
And I don't have anything that I don't use or touch or enjoy. And I go through my things every 2 to 3 months and I throw away. And, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, again later, but my move to Los Angeles is coming up. So I'm moving to Los Angeles in less than 3 weeks. I'm living in Barcelona right now. And I am having so much fun just finding like these little things or like skincare that like I'm like slathering on so that I don't have to bring it to Los Angeles. Like just things that I can just show up to Los Angeles with everything so intentional, no like half empty bottles of anything, like just new start. And
I
I
love
love
that.
it.
Yeah, it's like conscious consumption in a way. And that, I mean, clearly, just like you, I move around a lot. And so you do get into these positions where you have to start thinking, okay, I'm a month out. Like, how can I get creative with what's still in the kitchen? How can I, yeah, really allow myself to use these things? Because I think I see that happens with a lot of people too, especially bathrooms and even pantries, like where it's like you hoard all this stuff because you're like, I need this. And I need this for this, and I need this for that. But like, do you really? Like, what if you just need a couple things intentionally? Use them, and then also, I always like to ask my body, like, do you want me to buy this again, or should we explore something else? I feel like you do that too.
Yeah, I do. I don't keep food. So like I order out a
Well, you
lot.
you do like delivery.
I love delivery. I love delivery men, especially. And I like fresh food. So I have like three places in Barcelona that I eat. And I really don't go out. I do with friends, I'll grab a meal
Socially.
elsewhere
Mhm.
or, all that. And I do like trying new things for a nice dinner. But for my day to day, I have my acai bowl from the same place or I make it myself. That's the one thing I cook in my
Mhm.
NutriBullet,
Mhm.
with all my powders and everything. But yeah, if you looked at my pantry, like the only things that need to go are like vegan protein powders and olive oil and some salt. Like, you know,
Love it.
but yeah, it works for me because I like going out and sitting down for a meal and maybe talking to sexy somebody or just a cool somebody. It doesn't need to be just sex based.
Well, we are what we attract, so it would make sense that they are appealing in nature.
Well, thank you.
Mhm. You do have a radiance, and we've talked about this before. So, right, for context for people, we're WhatsApp whores, if you will.
Sluts.
Sluts, WhatsApp
Because
sluts.
we're not paying each other for the WhatsApp messages.
No,
But
no.
you know what? Maybe we should charge each other. Then we
You're
could
not
be
sending me an invoice.
69.69 now.
No, that's going to go into collections, my friend. And then maybe the collector will come see you.
But we do love our WhatsApp voice notes
Yes.
and our
Where was
back
I
and
going?
forths.
Yes, our back and forth and our constant why are we like this dynamic.
Danielle and I have this over the topness when we collide into each other's atmospheres, and then we're always like circling back and be like, why are we like this?
Excited. But I love it because I think we're meant, I think there's this persona and I do feel like it's dropping a little bit, like that we have to be so put together and poised and act certain ways and whatnot. But it's like by nature, we're also meant to be silly and strange. And like we have like, especially I find with like when I do comedy, it's like we have weird thoughts. Like like overall, like as humans, like I don't even know what normal means anymore, right? But it's like stuff runs through our mind and sometimes we just gotta like find our people to like get it out.
Totally. And you know that two-part episode series, there's a two-part episode series on, I guess, HBO about Laurel Canyon and like all the music of the 60s and 70s. And they're talking about like the word hippie in that documentary series all the time. And it became a negative thing over time, but actually hippie is people who are becoming hip. And it's the people who don't give a fuck. They're letting their freak flag fly and they're not, you know, they're peace of mind
Boisterous
kind
about
of
it.
people.
Hmm.
Yeah, their heart expanded and that free love era and all of that. And I feel like you and I both have, we probably knew each other in Laurel Canyon.
Probably we weren't even hippies. We already progressed to hippest.
Yeah, totally.
We're the hippest ones. And then once we reached that state, we got bored and we're like, all right, let's go to New York City so then we can be queens at Studio 54 for sure.
Yeah, yeah. See, that was the era.
Oh,
We've definitely danced on those dance floors.
totally. Do you ever feel like, so I was watching that documentary over the weekend based on your recommendation. I loved it. And I love when you can really, especially again nowadays, where you can like turn on the TV or like watch something and fully be in it, right? There was no reaching for my
Mhm.
phone. It was like, I'm just truly watching this. I don't know what that noise was.
Yeah.
And that felt really yummy and really good. And at the same time, though, when I was watching it, because I was born in 83, it's like this interesting feeling of connection to that era. And then also this feeling of like nostalgia for like something you never experienced. And like almost like and maybe we did, right? Like it's very possible that our souls did experience that, but it's just this interesting, like bittersweet moment where you just feel like love and euphoria, and then also like almost like a little bit of grief at the same time,
Yeah.
if you know what I'm talking about.
I felt the grief and I feel the grief and I feel I so yes, I'm a Taurus, but my moon and rising are in Cancer. So I feel a lot of emotions and I do feel the nostalgia a lot. And I remember I told Danielle that I had visited a home in Laurel Canyon and like just going to visit it, I was imagining like back in the days, barefoot walking up from Hollywood to the canyon and that time period and that essence. And I definitely resonate with all that you just said, like the nostalgia, the hope that it could be like that. But then I remember you even saying like we love the modernization of life and we
Right.
love the ease that comes with that, but it can become polluted as well with too much noise, not enough safety, you know.
Yeah, and I just talked about that in a solo episode I recorded around this pollution. And also too, it's difficult because you can go on your app, like maybe you're on Instagram and you are listening to a song or following an artist and you're feeling really inspired. And then the next thing you see is something that makes you laugh. And then after that, you might see something that actually is really triggering and you can be caught off guard. And I think we're having like this psychological whiplash almost. And it's not to bypass what's happening, but it does make it difficult to navigate when you're being exposed to things that maybe you didn't initially consent to, or you didn't say, okay, now I want to intentionally sit down and look to see what is going on in our world right now. And I feel like that's going to get stickier and stickier.
Yeah, there's all that talk about, 200 years ago, we weren't programmed to have to know about different countries and different cities and people outside of our own villages and families. And look how much our attention is being asked of. Like everything is look at me, give me your money, do this, do that, and it isn't coming back to just what you said, it just isn't healthy for our nervous systems to be pulled that way because our mind, it just doesn't have that capacity.
Mhm.
And that's honestly why, like that Laurel Canyon thing, I actually watched the second episode last night because it's been a while and I don't think I ever finished the second episode. I don't watch TV. I don't watch anything. I haven't owned a TV since my early 20s. And like, I will only watch the things that I will be so clued into and that I feel are educational. And that does usually for me is like documentaries or music stuff. I'm a musician as well. So that then gets my heart and soul. But otherwise, I'm like, I don't have the capacity because, like we are on our phones a lot and we're running our businesses on our phones. So if we don't have that awareness that we need, the time in the sauna or the meditation or,
Mhm.
time with the delivery man delivering a big package,
Mhm.
then we're taking in way too much. Yeah.
Without even realizing it too. And it is interesting to also be in a space where everything is muddled together. Like before, it was you would sit down and you'd watch TV and you'd even be able to pick the channel. Like I'm going to watch MTV because I know I'm going to either see music videos or like the real world. Great, or I
Mhm.
am going to, scroll to whatever channel I want to scroll to, right? But now everything, we went from having access to one village to literally you have access to billions of people now, which is a
So
lot.
wild.
And then, you and I are in a position, like with what you do as an artist and what you do with Creative Life School, where now you're sharing space with everything, right? It's not like, oh, I'm going to intentionally go into this app for, creativity and music. It's like, no, I'm going to go into this app that literally has every single channel streaming at every moment. And it's not just Instagram, right? It's TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of it. And yes, you can get your algorithm fine-tuned and that helps, but that's not always the case. And so, what do you advise to someone that is, using these platforms to share as an entrepreneur, to share like their business while also kind of having to navigate that there's going to be lots of different frequencies and lots of different stories happening at the same time?
Really, that what I would say is what helps me is my daily yoga practice and the breath work and the prayers at night and the intentionally clearing any energy at the end of the day, apologizing for anyone I might have wronged and asking for and also forgiving people for anything that I maybe misthought or whatever it is, just clearing myself energetically every day, doing that yoga practice. And then if someone doesn't have a yoga practice, find something,
Yeah.
time in nature,
Right.
disconnect so that when you choose to connect, it can have your full attention because I believe we need to be on social media and connected if that's our choice. I mean, we don't have to, but if we're going into that space, I believe it's conducive if we're doing it with our heart and soul and not in a mindless scrolling way. So
Mm.
I would say find the ability to choose something in your day that is just so with like leave your phone at home, go for that hour walk,
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
You just have to disconnect
Yeah.
every day
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
then you can be more connected.
Yeah, and it's a practice because it's easier said than done. I mean, there's so many times where so I'm really intentional with my coffee, and so that's one of my moments where the phone is away. It's not, yeah, and I'm just. But there are moments where I'm like, oh well, I just thought of something. Let me just check on my phone real quick, and it doesn't. And even if I did check on my phone real quick, then oh, I have a text from so and so, or oh, let me just check my email, and then before I know it, that whole experience is now muddled. And so we really do, it's up to us to create those boundaries for sure.
And as you are saying, it's so easy to get into the landslide, right?
Yeah.
It's like one night out with the friends or one night drinking wine on the rooftop. And then, oh, the next few days, I'm like, why
Eric the
not?
dog, you know. Hmm.
Yeah. And so being really aware of your habits or your tendencies too, and maybe getting to the root of what are you actually picking up that phone for? What are you looking for?
Right.
You know?
Hmm. Yeah, which I think kind of plays into a lot of what you talk about. You have a unique approach, I believe, to like manifestation. And I feel like what we're talking about is a huge manifestation blocker.
Yeah, because you're siphoning your energy, right? And everything is energetics. And if you're not locked and loaded, let's say, ripe and juicy,
Mhm.
you're not going to be attracting things into your orbit at the highest caliber. We're all magnets at the end of the day. Like people say, I'm a money magnet, I'm this, I'm that. We're all magnets for something.
Mhm.
So make it something great. And you do that by raising your internal belief system about yourself, what you believe, but also your daily habits. Yeah, like if you are scrolling on the phone, that becomes like 2 hours of a numb. It's kind of puts you in like nap mode.
Yeah.
The universe going to come knocking on your door at that opportunity when you're napping? Probably not. I mean, we need a rest. I'm all about, taking your time off. I like really have been chilling while living in Spain.
As one does. It's the
As
standard
one
way.
does. Uh-huh. But, you know, you need to cultivate the awareness with everything. And then that intentionally navigates your life forward. And also, I find that confusion, disorientation, frustration, that is just a
Mhm.
sign that your daily habit, you're doing something off. Like for me, it would be like smoking cigarettes, right? With the wine, or that disrupts my internal system. And I know that, and my body doesn't want it. But on that Friday night, it feels good. You're living in Spain. It's like, no, like just stop. And then I would feel frustrated, right? And I found with clients and with, I think globally, if you feel frustrated, if you feel confused,
Mhm.
remove the things that are adding to that. And that is often the phone screen for people. It doesn't need to be drinking or whatever. It can be these little things. The phone screen
Yeah.
will leave you frustrated.
100%. And, one thing too, the universe will show you where you're blocked. So, for example, if you do go out and you have a couple drinks and then you feel like shit the next day and you're like, why did I do that? Ding, 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 ding. That's showing you right there. And it wasn't wrong that you did it. Like, let's erase that, right? It's not wrong that you did it. Don't shame yourself. It was just showing you something that is preventing you from showing up in the way that you want to. So, yeah, go ahead.
And allowing those things to change too,
Mhm.
right? Because, we've talked about this too, but like there are nights where I have felt so aligned, like going out and having those dreams and then and usually I wake up the next day, I feel great. I'm like sharp, ready to go. But it's those nights that like you just don't have to do it and you're reaching for something because maybe you're like a little lonely or a
Oh,
little
mhm.
this and what is really underneath that. And that's what I also think with the phone, especially like, are we all looking for connection at the end of the
Yeah,
day?
we are.
So we want to use that phone to feel connected. But
Mm,
unfortunately, we live in a world that's not always governed by people living from a heart centered space.
yeah.
So that's going to make you feel disconnected too. So realize that what you're reaching for, especially if you do want to feel more connected, just be, careful about where you're giving your time and energy because
Yeah.
your good intentions can fall flat in someone else's face.
Totally. And it's being clear about your why. Like one thing that I was really helpful for me, as a former binge eater, and I used to abuse alcohol very severely. And so when I was in recovery of that, it was less about and everyone has their own journey with this, but for me, it was less about restrictions saying you can't have any of this because that was just going to fuel me more, especially in that state where I didn't understand, like this conversation that you and I are having, it wouldn't have been as impactful for me at that time. I just knew I was struggling and I knew that I wanted to continue to escape. I wanted to make the pain go away. And saying that you can't have it at all only frustrated me more, right? And so what I started to do, and even though I definitely, held back, but like I got really clear on the why. Why do I want to reach for this glass right now? Why do I want to reach for the fridge handle and pull something out? Am I really hungry? Am I reaching for this glass of champagne because I'm with my best friend and she's celebrating her engagement? And so we are picking up this glass to celebrate her and we're having a moment together, right? Like it has to be a little bit more crystallized as to why, or even picking up the phone. Why are you picking up the phone right now? Maybe you had a long day and you're like, you know what? I just feel like scrolling for 20 minutes just
Yeah.
because it just feels like a little yummy reset. My algorithm feels really good right now. So I just want to look at real estate homes, which you and I love to do, right? Like I love to look at like for me, a fun break is looking at mid-century modern homes, right? But I'm clear on that. Like for me, that's visual art. It makes me feel good. It's inspiration. I feel like it's future mapping, right? So it's not to say the phones are bad. It's not to say that, the external circumstances are bad, but to your point, like taking it further, why? What is the reasoning? When I wake up first thing in the morning, do I need to be reaching for my phone? This morning I should have been reaching for myself, but I didn't feel like it.
Oh, I mean, when you're looking that good, you might need to reach for the phone just to take a selfie.
This is true. But yeah, I think it comes down to that. And I think once you can have a better gauge on that and be gentle on yourself in the process, because it is a gentle discipline, right? You're not gonna nail it right away, so to speak.
I mean, a lot of people, sometimes a lot of gentlemen have nailed it right away.
Yes, that might be more of a Torian thing.
You
Not
need
so
to
much.
give them a little, upkeep, a little, they got to work for it
Yes, it's different in the Leo lioness realm for sure.
in the hetero world.
Yeah, and that too. I mean, yeah, that's a conversation for another day. But all that to say, I just think when again, and I think if people are like, why am I not manifesting what I want? Why are things not coming together? I'm doing the affirmations, I'm doing this. Well, what is your why? And then how are you adjusting your life and your habits to meet that why?
Getting underneath the root, right? Because it's that root chakra too. Because when we do feel safe, so the root chakra is very connected to safety, to home, to being grounded, and knowing your worth at the most pivotal part of you, right? And so if you're not in alignment from that area, then you could be reaching for things that are only going to further confuse you. So I love like when you're clear on your why, you're clear on your who you are. That's a root chakra, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
that.
And we talk about this too, like what are the frequencies you're bringing in? So for me, I've been really drawn to helping people find space within their home because when the home is more in alignment and like even to your point, I mean, you take it to the extreme, like you're like I have I have a olive oil and protein powder and then I love how streamlined your place is. And I love that you fill it with plants and you fill it with visual, art and things that feel like you, that feel like an expression of you. And at the same time, like, don't get me wrong, we have clutter, things happen, things pile up. But overall, the space should be able to breathe. And when your home is able to breathe, then that gives you permission to do that too. And you talk a lot about that with like food and things of that nature of like, it's all connected.
Totally. And I remember when I was living in Berlin, I was living in a cute but smaller one bedroom. And I was kind of getting ready to leave Germany, but I met this guy out actually just randomly, and we came back to my place a few hours later. I did make him work for it a little bit,
As you
but
should.
my place was, I mean, clothes everywhere, like things on dry, like it wasn't the vibe. And I remember it really turned him off at the time. And I look back and I'm like, I respect who he was and how streamlined he was, but I wasn't in a mental place to like I felt fine back then. And I look back and I'm like, I would never live like that now, you
Mhm.
know? So allowing yourself to change and to make improvements and also to really give yourself a real audit because I feel like sometimes these days with like chat GPT working as your higher self, it's like is it reflecting your higher self or your like your own messaging to you where you need someone else's perspective? And I think the greatest times I've learned is when someone might call me out and it might not sit well or it might be unpleasant, but I can say, wait, what is going on here? And at the time, I didn't think it was affecting my mind and my brain.
You're just like, oh, it's a
But
little messy.
yeah, but when I cleaned it up, I was like, whew. And I then look back. I mean, kind of gone through a breakup, all these things. So you just realize that. But everything from your home being streamlined to your body, I think movement is so important. And feeding yourself with natural food. It's like just stepping away from the process BS. It's like one of the reasons I live in Europe so that I can be like more
Oh,
careful with my food intake. I told you I eat at like three places.
yeah.
Um, and knowing that it is affecting you vibrationally, like your body's reacting, your digestion. It's not new news that 95% of like your happiness, or it's like your gut health and your mental health are so connected.
Mhm.
Your serotonin, from your gut, it's like 95%, running your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then, and again, it's frustrating that especially in the United States, we live in a country that doesn't support that, right? You do have to make more of an effort. But it's definitely possible. But I find that like why not? Like I got to see Gaz Oakley speak on Sunday and he's a plant-based gardener and chef and he has his own garden and yeah, it's a lot of work, but guess what? He's not on his phone as much. Guess what?
yeah,
It's like actually like what if that became an activity where you get to connect with yourself and you get to connect with the earth. And he was saying too, which I never knew this, there's a compound in the soil that when your hands are in it, it acts like an antidepressant, which is
yeah,
so cool. So but it has to be healthy, rich soil, right? Like not
right,
the processed kind, but it goes to show when, yes, you don't have to technically be in a garden if that's not your thing and putting your hands in the dirt. But if
yeah,
you can find food that like literally your food is wired to make you happy, but you have to just source it appropriately.
yeah, yeah. It's like I think we've all been there. If you eat meat, that you sometimes eat a steak or something, and you can like I have felt the emotions. If I eat steak too late and it wasn't at a proper place, I've woken up in the middle of the night sweating, like literally feeling so like all the animals' emotions. But I really careful where I eat my meat now and only from
So
organic
am I.
places. And I realized that my body's digests it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And, again, like it then allows you to live more of the life that you want. Even thinking about who you were in Berlin in that apartment. Yes, you were going through a breakup. And so there were certain things where, yeah, we cut ourselves some slack in those moments because we just
yeah,
didn't have the
right.
same levels of energy or motivation. However, you look at that version of you and you look at the version of you now and you're like, this future me, like compared to who I was, like clearly some things have expanded. And clearly some of that is because of your own discipline and your own devotion, but also allowing things to manifest accordingly. And that's why there's such a connection with how we are literally connecting to the present moment and letting that be a bridge to who you want to be in the future. But I think too often we envision who we want to be in the future. We're really good at that. We're really good at making the vision board. We're really good at saying the affirmations. We're really good at the new moon, journal. This is what I want, daddy, sky daddy, all the things. But clearly there's some kind of disconnect that's happening because why aren't those things happening, right? And it has a lot less to do with your future, and I feel like more to do with your present.
Yeah. And showing up every day willing to change, and as someone with a lot of changes in my life, always moving around, new countries, this or that, I do realize that I have fear coming up about like my next change. And I love that for me because I haven't felt that way in a while. And I'm like, oh, and I kind of tell myself, I have told myself, because we've been doing this work, a long time, like that I'm in a good place, like, all these things. And I'm kind of excited by that fear now. And yet I have to be cognizant that I have to show up being the person I need to be so that that fear doesn't consume me, right? So that my nervous system can actually adjust to its new level. Because that's all that we're doing. We're manifesting from what our nervous system can handle. And our nervous system and our mind isn't built to expand, right? It's built to stay the same or to be safe.
Right.
And so when we can allow that discomfort, that fear, that trepidation, and yet we can do that daily practice, whether it's the yoga, the breath work, the putting your hands in soil, like the good food you eat, you have to allow that to fuel yourself forward. And then you can override your current programming to become someone new. And yet, I think when we're doing those affirmations and stuff, we think that it's gonna like we have to do this jump, but we only have to do little bits. Like just do a little 5 minute meditation if you don't have the whole day. Put your phone to the side for an hour, like feel the anxiety, feel it because often when you actually are present with that feeling, or let's say you are like quitting smoking or quitting a substance or whatever you feel that hunger, that desire for it, sit with it
Mm.
and watch it go away. Because even, when it like a smoker quitting smoking cigarettes, they get that craving, but that craving will disappear until, and then it might come back 3 hours later, but it will disappear again. But we're so accustomed to just stuffing our face when that fear comes because we don't want to deal with it,
We want to numb.
right?
We want to shut
We
down.
want to numb it. And yet, underneath that is our nervous system
Mm.
wanting to like just skyrocket up and be like, woo, let's go to a new level where we have all this fear cleared, where
Yeah.
we have so much opportunity. And that is our work, right? Just to be present and aware. And like you said, ask why.
Mhm. Yeah.
Make things intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to be a moment by moment because, yeah, we do want to jump and we want to say, I'm going to figure out a way to manifest $1 million, or I'm going to figure out or a lot of times I hear like, I need more followers. And it's like, okay, cool. You need more followers. That's great. What are you doing with these followers? So if all of a
Yeah.
sudden you woke up tomorrow and you gained 100,000 followers, what was it about these 100,000 people that were like, yes, I'm going to follow you? And they're like, well, I just need to get the followers first and then I'll figure it out. And like what you're saying is like, no, you got to do these not so fun, sticky little moments where you're working with yourself, where you're allowing the nervous system to feel safe in a new way, right? Our ego wants to feel safe in a survival, old school way, whereas our nervous system is asking us to be in a more spiritual position, in a more evolutionary tone. And if we can navigate that and be curious and observe, then eventually we get to a space where it feels easier and lighter. And then before you know it, whatever you're showing up as, whatever you're doing, the following then also starts to come
Right.
to you. And it's more of a co-creation than just a give me this thing and I'll figure it out that next.
Yeah, totally. It's so funny because having that kind of following with Creative Life School, my business, I'm always thinking, how can I go deeper with my audience now instead of how can I grow a little more? And lately, I've been losing some following since I haven't been posting as much, all these things, because I'm in a figuring out how I want to go deeper
Mhm.
phase. And I love that, but I got that following because I wasn't chasing the following. I was literally making content that I felt called to make. I was waking up doing morning writing and then recording that morning writing.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then I saw like the ego come in, with like I between
I gotta
TikTok and
keep this
Instagram, I
up.
have
Hmm.
right. And then I'm like, what am I gonna do with the follow? Like I started thinking like that. How can I make this into a business? This, that, whatever. And like that's great because our time and energy is of service and we should be paid for it, all of that. And I actually love helping people find that rhythm in life too. And I also feel like I lost a little bit of like that, not like the essence of the platform, because I feel like I've always been able to keep it intact with anything I share, but I lost the momentum,
Yeah. Spark a
because
little bit. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And also, kind of giving myself grace as I was running around the world.
Well, also, I mean, look, I mean, you and I are great at this. We also start to become interested in new things as well, or the thing that maybe initially like lit us up and we felt called to share. After a while, that starts to feel a little dull, and so then we're looking for the new thing that lights us up, and so I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It's
And
the dynamic. Mhm.
yeah,
Um,
allowing ourselves to evolve is so important, especially with the online space, because I think it's great that people like with personal brands, they change it up and you realize that some people really will stick with you, because nothing is staying the same, nothing is static in this life.
mhm,
And yet, when we get like, oh, well, I grew my following in this way, or I made $1 million this way, and I want to make my second million, but it's all of a sudden not working. Well, what are you? How are you shifting? Are you up leveling? Are you changing?
mhm,
So, if there is something in someone who's listening to this life where they're stuck or they're afraid to pivot because maybe they think that they're going to lose what they have, well, true reality is that quote you reminded me of: your new life will cost you your old one. That's something that's true, and that there's so much expansion in that, because when you pivot, then you align to the magnetism of everything, and you also are showing the universe like, I'm here, I'm your servant, God, use me. you know
yeah.
God doesn't want you to stay still and nap all day.
Not really. It's like, wait a minute, I could have put someone else in your place. There was someone else up for your role in this life, and you're just napping on it. You're just sleeping away, right? I would have sent in, Harry instead of Garrett. We would have sent in Harriet.
Harriet, okay. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
she probably would be a good time too.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, it's realizing that you do hold a place here. And I know these times there is a lot of questioning. I mean, I'd say the number one thing I get when people book sessions with me and in what they put in their intake form is I've lost my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is.
Mm,
And it's less about quote unquote finding out what it is from a tangible perspective, which I get. It feels good to do that. But really,
yeah.
it's about realizing like you are here for a purpose. And sometimes it's literally just walking into the coffee shop with your light and giving a smile. Recognize that it's not just about the career. It's not just about what your title is. Purpose is about literally recognizing that you're here on purpose. And sometimes you'll move through life and you'll feel that something is no longer on purpose. And then you just redirect. But everything is meant to be purposeful. There is a purpose for you being here. And I think that's something that we constantly have to remind ourselves of.
Yeah. And I think underneath that question, it says, there's a discomfort in me right now that doesn't feel like I'm living to my ultimate expression and truth. And so, how can you live to your ultimate expression and truth today? Because I promise you, the money, the sex, the this, the accolades, that's not going to give you your purpose either. And yet, there have been some days in Spain where I've done nothing but I'm present to it. And maybe I made a little bit of a song, or, I did something that fueled me. And I go to bed that night so thankful and happy. And I'm like, that's enough of a purpose.
Yeah.
Then the ego does come in. It says, how can we do this? How can we do that? How do we
How
do
you
that? But I
manifest
do
it.
feel
Hmm.
underneath that, we want the grand answer, but the answer is in the simplicity of today.
Yes. It's so much more simple than we think because here's the thing, even if you got the answer, you'd get bored with it. You'd find an excuse. You'd procrastinate around it.
You'd change. You'd
Yeah.
change.
You'd be like, no,
You know,
that's not it.
yeah.
So
There's never gonna be that one light bulb moment that shows you everything about life. You
yeah,
know,
maybe
this
at the end.
is
That's your last.
right. Oh yeah, right. But this is where we came here to have a human experience, and part of that is the unknown
Yeah.
and the fact that we can't predict the future. You can go to Danielle Mercurio, the best intuitive astrologer, life coach, et cetera, that there is. Thank you very much. And you will be spot on with your reading, right? But you're reading energetics.
In that moment.
And there is, cause and effect in this world. There's so many different laws in place at infinite times.
Mhm.
We just don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know how long we're going to be here, so let's figure out what we can do today to make sure that we take care of our nervous system, that we take care of the people around us. And that comes from taking care of us. Let's just try to bring some good to the world around us. Like you said, walk into that coffee shop, just, just take it down a notch. You don't need to win the Pulitzer Prize today.
Yes. But it's okay if you do. We love you.
Next month, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Totally, totally. Which kind of brings us into I feel like the season that we are moving into, I do feel that because of everything going on in the world and because of us realizing external circumstances may be a little bit too intense, there is more of an emphasis on self-regulation and grounding. And, Jupiter just moved into Cancer. We'll be moving into summer solstice, which, if people don't know, summer solstice and Cancer season go hand in hand. So the first day of summer is also the first day of Cancer season. And I know clearly with you being a Cancer moon, Cancer rising, with all these energetics, I feel like you're in such a poised place to show up right now in these ways we're talking about.
well, I'm excited. Thank you. I love hearing that. We all love a little encouragement. And it also was tourist season not that long ago. So the
That's
spring
true.
summer is always my thing.
Vortex. Hmm.
Yeah. And we're both hot weather girlies. We love our like more tropical weather vibe.
I'm a space,
But
so yeah. Of
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, with that, should I mention the little summer solstice? Okay, yeah.
course you
So I'm going to
should.
be doing a little workshop on that first day and kind of doing all of what we talked about today from a nervous system regulation point of view. There's going to be breath work. So it's a summer solstice abundance activation. We're using the longest day of the year to tap into the most light, right? Because we have the most light, especially in the Western hemisphere, we have the most light uh, uh, available to us. And so if we can connect to the soil, if we can connect to everything that is, we allow this next 6 months to really be activated and kind of like the snowball effect of success. And it does come down to our daily actions. And what I see blocking so many people right now is the anxiety of the world,
Mhm.
like Dochi's song, even anxiety. Like
I
everyone's
do love that
thinking
song.
about, yeah.
Mhm.
But the anxiety of our political leaders, wars, there are real things going on that can make any good person's heart hurt, right? So
Mhm.
how can we snap out of the chaos and the noise and the scrolling and come back home to ourselves on the longest day of the year? And so I'm putting together this 90-minute workshop on the 21st to do breath work practices, to do sound healing, use some healing instruments, and to really align us back to what matters. which is the simplicity of the present moment and feeling safe in our body, rooted to who we are. And also connected because I do see this, what's my purpose? What is, all these questions that the collective is going, well, let's make room for the answers to come through, because when you connect to your intuition, when you connect to your daily practices, the confusion goes away. Well,
Yeah.
that's what people don't know. They run into the confusion, they run into the anxiety,
You're
and they
like, help
keep
me.
going, and
Yeah.
then they don't get answers.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what if you just freaking meditated like you
Yeah.
say you will for 20 minutes? Sit down
Totally.
in this workshop and you
And
will
find some
all your answers.
space. Yeah, find some peace because yeah, if you keep running into the chaos cycle or cyclone or you go to
Yeah.
confusion, you say confusion, excuse me, I'd like some help. And confusion says, okay, I can help you, but I'm going to make you more confused. Is that okay? And you're like, wait, now I am confused. You just did what you said you were going to do. What? So we got to pivot. We got to pivot and invest in these moments, invest in these opportunities. And while, this opportunity is technically always available to us, right? We always have moments to be able to drop in and be curious. But I love when nature and the cosmos align in such a way to be like, hey, yes, this is always available to you, but why don't you carve out today on the longest day of light? As we set up for the summer season, as we look to the next 6 months ahead, as we, make it to December, which will be winter solstice, right? And just the positioning right now with Jupiter being in Cancer, where it will be for a year. And then the new moon is just a couple days after the solstice in Cancer. So I just feel like there are all these really delightful elements that are happening. And if you don't know much about Cancer, it's more than just the crab or like the mom energy that it tends to get associated with, but it's really about identity and becoming. And so allow what you're offering. And if you can't make it that day, that's okay. Like the day, like I said, the new moon's a few days later. Like this all kind of ties in together, which we love, but use this as an opportunity to come home to yourself. And you're saying, as I come home to me, what would I like? How do I want to exist in this home? Who am I really? What do I identify with? And from that space, what would I like to become? And I feel like that's a big central focus. And I feel like you're going to be a really great space holder for that for Solstice, but then also the things that you do, that follow with Creative Life School and being in LA.
Well, thank you. I feel that I can help a lot of people pivot because I've had to pivot a lot in my life. We're shapeshifters a bit. And I've been shapeshifting since I was a kid. And sometimes you shapeshift because you're in danger, right? And sometimes you shapeshift just to get to the next version of yourself. And you realize you don't have to do it because you're in danger anymore, but to go to that next level, to become a better version of yourself. And so I feel like, you know, I love imparting my wisdom and the ancient tools, though, that I've picked up over literally 23 years. I started yoga at 15, which is insane. Daily yoga at 15 years old. I'm 39. So I just am excited to be that little pivot guide. That's
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we love it. We love it. And we love you for it. So, what, for people curious, so yeah, you've been in Barcelona. You made the choice to go to LA. What was the essence of that? Can you share what made you want to make that shift? Because a lot of people, I will say, from the States right now, most people are really like, how do I get to Europe?
My
How do I
God.
get out of here? And you're
Oh my
making the
God.
choice to come back in.
It's wild. That is actually something that I just have to always be checking in with my body. It seems like we're making the right choice, right? Because it does feel very aligned. And I do have some moments of sadness about leaving Europe and just like that ease. But we are called to shine our light, right? In this world, we are called to connect with each other. We are called to create community or be a part of a community. And right now, I don't feel that I'm part of an in-person community that I can feed or that can feed me. And I have my platform Creative Life School at Creative Life School. is where you can find it. And then I have my personal brand at Garrett Paknis. And my personal brand is my music and dance music that I'm infusing more healing instruments into so that it can be very frequency based and align your body for that movement that you're going to do anyway in the bedroom and beyond.
Mhm. I
And
will
then,
say Garrett's music really turns me on. Like, and he's really good at
oh,
turning me on like a second, right? Like I still remember the moment you were in Philly for whatever reason, and I think I was living in Philly at that time. And you played for me the demo of Fire, and I just
oh,
remember being like, "What is this?" Like, and
oh,
just like from the first moment, you just have this ability to just like, get us in, or at least get
well,
me.
thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, I love getting you in.
Anyway,
Getting,
continue. I just wanted to praise your music, which we can find
yeah.
on Spotify, right? I mean, that's what I
Yes, on Spotify. Yep, yep. Well, I appreciate that. And I merge is another word that comes with that whole answer because I have creative life school and I do have a bit of a following. I feel like I can really help people, and yet I want to merge my worlds because I have my personal brand, I have my business, and sometimes wearing a lot of hats, separately it can be hard, and I just want maybe it's an illusion too sometimes because we do have to have different outlets,
Sure.
but I want to merge.
Yeah.
And I think is a great place. I think LA needs some light and love. It's such a great city, and it's been through a lot with the recent fires and right now the protests. And I continually, of course, knowing all that, I'm like, I'm leaving Europe to step back into this because I had, after 4 years in London and 2 years in Berlin, I had gone back to the States to try Miami out. And, there was a heartbreaking end to that with, there was a shooting around the corner. And I don't know what we can say on the podcast, but real life happening around us at all times. How can we get comfortable with the discomfort? And so my soul, I feel, is leaning into where do we need to go where I can create community? I can have that success, quote unquote, success that I'm looking for from a soulful place, not just a monetary number, but also where could I be needed, right? And so yeah, like I said, there's some hesitation, but it's more mental than energetic. Like my energy is ready to come back to the States. I'm from there. I'm from New York, New Jersey, originally. So it's my homeland, and it's still warm, I love LA. I've been out there a ton. So yeah, I don't even know if that
Well, it's you're following the pulse, and I
I'm
talk
following
about
the
it a lot,
pulse.
right? And we talk about that. We follow the pulse, and so for anyone else that might feel like, am I scattered? Do I not? Am I all over the place? Do I not have a home? And I always say like, if you feel called to move somewhere, reflect on it, right? But it might be because you're getting a signal that we need you, and it's time. And so you just have to kind of ask yourself, am I running away or am I stepping into what's next? And from
Oh,
everything you've shared, you are shifting out of Spain and stepping into LA because that's what's next. You're definitely not running away from Europe. That's for sure.
that's for sure. Because actually, I tried to stay,
You
and a
did.
little funny story. I was going to go back to London. So London is a place that
Oh,
everything just works out for me. It's a very magical place. I was there 2 weeks ago. I was there again 3 months ago. It's like a place that is my home, and I was about to rent this place that had been on one of my favorite lists on Airbnb for literally over a year. But in the last 6 months, I had like, I don't know, I'm a little obsessed with homes and real estate and Airbnb and
very
Trulia and
Torian.
yeah, I'm very Torian. And I had been checking this place out. And then I was really leaning into when I knew that I was going to leave Barcelona, after getting a 3-year visa granted here, but then I knew I was going to leave here. And I thought, I'll just go back to London for 4 months. And I was about to go book this Airbnb. I had been eyeing it at that point for 2 weeks every day. And I was going to go book it the following day. And at night before I checked, and it was totally gone off of the listing. It wasn't booked because when it's booked, you can still see the listing, but the dates are gone.
Yeah,
But
but
the
it
whole listing was gone. It wasn't in my favorites anymore. It wasn't in recently viewed. It just
it
disappeared.
ceased to exist.
It ceased to exist. And with that, I kind of felt that it was God being like, London is no for now. And going back there 2 weeks ago, I'm like, this is home and I don't need to be here right now. Like I knew that.
That feeling.
And then I was about to do the same for a place in Lisbon. And the same kind of thing happened. I've been eyeing it for about a week or two, about to book, and then it got booked. It didn't disappear that one, but it got
Yep.
booked.
Hmm.
And then I looked at some other places. I'm very specific with my places. And I just won't take something that's like good enough. Like it has to be 100%. I've lived in lofts since I moved to Europe, and I'm not going down. I'm only going up. If I'm going to do all this energetic shape shifting upwards,
I'm
then
elevating.
my environment becomes more streamlined, more light, more ease, more flow, more luxury. I'm a tourist. Hello. So
Totally. Totally. And sensitive. I mean, for me, noise is a big thing, right? Like making
yeah,
sure top floor, not near a busy
absolutely.
highway. Like those are things that I always factor in for just my, yeah, not being overstimulated because that's very easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, when those places didn't work out, and then I was gonna do Milan if you're like, I was just like, I then started tapping into the energetics of that too. And I was like, that feels like running around. That feels like the opposite of what my soul wants, where what my soul really wants is to create a home and a place I can feel at home like I did in London for those 4 years I lived there. And that I haven't felt at home anywhere since leaving London. But when I'm in Los Angeles, I always have the feeling that I don't need to leave yet. I always have that little like,
Unfinished business. We're not
yeah,
done here. It's not
when
complete.
I, yeah, like I'm there, like I've been there at month-long stays a couple times last year. And after a full month, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good here. You know what I mean? So I think that once I'm there, I'm gonna feel pretty at home. But maybe you'll see me in South America in 3 months. I don't know.
So I'm in Brazil.
I I mean, Rio was on the bucket list for January, February.
I mean,
Well,
do you?
I need to create a home.
You're creating a home, you're following the pulse, and we love that. And also, too, I think it gives us a beautiful opportunity to have more access to you and what you're providing, like your summer solstice workshop. I know you have other things kind of lined up that you're ready to share and teach around, and I feel like it gives you more of that ability as well.
Thank you. I'm ready to do some more in-person workshops.
Mhm.
I have this great master class. Well, it's basically a training, but from anxiety to abundance, which is, a bunch of videos, some movement, some breath work, and really shifts you out of that anxiety into that higher level and state of being. And get that out into the world, do the workshops, play music again live because I haven't had it in me to talk to club promoters in Spanish,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just make it easy.
Let it be easy.
Life
Yeah.
be
I think
easy again.
yeah, I feel like this is a good space to wrap upon like this idea of let it be easy because it's very easy to overcomplicate, right? And
True.
I was at a event a couple weeks ago and someone said that like it's actually the easiest thing you can do to make things complicated. The
Yeah.
hardest thing is to make things easy. And isn't that interesting that we have such resistance?
And I feel underneath, that I want to find my purpose. I want, like, it's actually saying I'm trying to overcomplicate my life,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
Because
because
something feels off and I don't know what it is, and I'm afraid to be still. That's what it is. There's a fear of being still
Mhm.
in that I need something else. Yeah,
So we're giving you permission, everyone listening,
to be still
to be
by
still,
coming to my workshop.
and come come to character.
Go to the beach, go to the forest, do some journaling, put on some music,
Yeah. Go to,
or
yeah,
pause
just
it.
Go to a little spot on the floor if that's all you have. It can be anything, right? And let yourself be a little raw, a little real, because
Mm,
it's gonna sting, but that's how we heal, right? You don't heal from everything being in order, from everything feeling good. We'd like to think that we heal from feeling good, and I think that can be an aspect, right? There are times where I have felt so fucking fantastic, and from that something clicked and there was healing. But sometimes, there's got to be a wound, and in the stillness we can sense where that wound is. But from that awareness, it creates opportunity, and then, you know, it all kind of
yeah,
starts to make sense. So give yourself that gift, right?
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yep.
Fill the wound with your love and your light.
Yeah. And make it a practice. Because
Yeah,
some days it's easier said than done, literally.
totally.
So yeah.
Very
So we
much
love it.
so.
We love this and we love you. Thank you for all of your juicy
You and I love
vibes.
everyone listening. Thank you for having me.
Of course,
I,
this is actually our second time on the show.
I know
You
so
were
many years ago.
so many years ago. I actually saw when I was digging up your email, and I saw like the confirmation from when we did it back in it was 2017 that we recorded. And this was when the show was Gypsy After Hours you were on.
Yeah.
So talk about evolution and just reshaping and redefining.
And 8 years is very cosmic timing too.
Hmm.
We made it through the hurdle where everyone gets a divorce.
That's true. Where will he be in 2033?
Ooh, exciting.
Yes, we shall see. Well, I love you, babe. I'm so glad that you were here and shared your light with everyone. And
Thank
they will
you.
find you on Creative Life School. They will find you on the Spotify under your name. Anything else they need to find out about you before they go find something else to do after this?
I just appreciate their time, their energy, and just keep looking up, keep asking yourself, keep looking within too, but keep one eye to the sky and one eye inside, and you'll figure out your way. And don't feel like you have to have every answer today, right?
I
Yeah.
love it. Well, thank you, sweet friend.
Thank you. May everyone find stillness in their heart and their soul. Thanks for your time, Danielle, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.